All right, so this video we're going to talk about bow and how I use bow for some functional fitness. Bow is a great trick. Bow is a great stretch, and bow can be a great fitness exercise. So I want to kind of talk about a little bit of the differences, and I appreciate everyone participating on the Facebook page, and we're going to go into some of that discussion here. So first, we're going to look at the photos, and the photos were a snapshot of the video. So, as most people pointed out, the question is which of these don't belong. Number three was the overwhelming vote, noticing that the curve in the spine here um, is kind of the big thing. The head position was a lot of the notes. So people pointed out some of the other differences in the other ones, and there are some subtle differences in the other ones and reasons why those are different bows. And we'll go over that as we go through the video because it's easier to see when they're in motion. But I wanted to at least get you guys thinking about how not all bows are created equal. So if we go through the video of doing some bows, so I originally shot this to kind of explain and do a demo on bow, but I'm going to use this as a different opportunity now to kind of just talk through as the video goes. I'm not going to teach you how to train bow in this video. We're just going to talk through some of the position things that are important when you are doing bow for fitness. And so you can see here, I'm using elevated platforms. I will explain that a little bit more as I clip through this video. It does really help. Head position matters. I'm staying here trying to keep his head nice and neutral. I'm trying not to allow him to twist his head around like this. I want him to stay nice and straight forward with his head. Using different reward positions to see. I'm just experimenting at this point. Like, what is a good reward position for this dog? Your reward position matters so much in this exercise. So we really want to be aware. I'm constantly checking my video or a mirror if you have one to make sure that I am getting good behavior. I adjust his foot for him when he slides out of position. The biggest thing is just to be very aware and not to be um, just callous with the exercise and think that the little things don't matter because in this exercise, the little things do actually matter a lot. So here I'm just showing a front view. I'm trying to make sure that there's no curve in his spine. So as he's going back, ideally this is nice and straight here. You're not getting a curve like this in the spine as you look at him from this direction. Uh, so then this is the important view. This is the one that we've really been talking about and showing the videos of or the photos of, and that I really want to take some time to talk through. So as you can see here, um, we're going to get into a nice bow position. So what's some of the key things about a bow? So the bow works three critical things. It's a rear weight shift. So we're working this rear end. These hamstrings are getting nice and elongated. We're working the core. So we're nice and stable through the core. We're using the core to suspend and get into this position. So we need the core engaged. And then depending on the position of your dog, you might be getting some stretch here through the shoulders. And so those are the three key areas that we're working with the bow, which is like why it's a great fitness exercise for a lot of our sport dogs because you're getting three key areas in one exercise. If we take it back a second, one thing that is important to note is we want to start in a balanced stand. He might be a little overextended here, but we want to start with them standing pretty balanced. So we don't want the feet starting underneath because you can see as he shifts back, he needs those feet out here to support that weight. If his feet were underneath him here, when he tucks back, it might be easier for him to down, and it'll be very hard to engage those hamstrings in the way that we want to engage them. So we want to make sure we're starting in that balanced stand, which is why I like to use props for doing the bow and not just doing them on the flat. If we look at when we move to doing them on the flat, which is my other dog, um, he can start in a balanced stand. He does pretty well because he is trained to stand balanced without props, but it's still not as good um, as if we were to have him stand with props. He's a little bit, because he's a little bit under himself here already before we even start. And then when he bows, it's even more so, and we're getting less engagement here in the rear. So props are good and balanced stands are important. And then the reason to use two props versus one prop, we'll kind of get into the discussion of like what is the benefit of the exercise or what are you trying to get to? Um, you can see here with two props, I have more room for the elbows to come down. I can get more stretch through the shoulder region here, through these triceps, if I don't have something stopping him. The downside is it's really easy to overextend your dog as well if you have. So if we look here, now we're a little bit overextended. We're going down. We got to be careful of what we're doing to the back if we don't have the ground stopping us. So we have to be very mindful of how we reward the dog, how we're pushing the dog into position, how we're letting the dog drop into position if we're not using a full board to support them. So I like not using a full board. It is my preference, but I have to be even extra more paying attention to make sure that I am getting the body position that I want. The other thing about using two separate props is you're getting them to hold their weight up themselves a little bit more. So he can't rely on putting weight on these elbows. So now these muscles are more engaged and we're getting more use of these muscles. So this is a better setup for these dogs and a great way to advance the exercise once you've taught your dog how to do it and how to shift their weight back, how to engage their core. And now we can add the extra challenge of taking some of the supporting uh, platform away from their elbows. So the other reason I like to use platforms, especially why I have a small block in the front, is one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about bow today, which is what we'll get to when we look at the dog on the flat. So you see here, as he goes through this motion, and I'll put it in slow motion um, here. This is a typical what I've seen a lot with bow. And so it's fine. You're going to get some benefits from this, but not as functional as doing it on the platform. So what he's doing is he's throwing his weight forward first and then going into the bow. So he's moving his feet forward. Um, First, and you'll see it here again. He goes forward and then drops into the bow. There's not as much rear weight shift in this style of bow. His body is completely supported by the ground, so he's not really engaging as many of his muscles here. He's going to have to a little bit, especially to get up and down from that position, but you're not going to get the full benefit of this exercise if you have the dog throwing their feet forward, not engaging their rear end as much, versus the dog who you put on the platform. You'll see here, I'm making sure he's in a balanced stance, nice weight distribution. I don't want them standing too close together either. I want them, everything to be nice and balanced. Here we're shifting weight back now, and then we're engaging our rear and our core as we're going down. Again, if we compare to that to this dog here, oops, it just drops because he puts his feet forward. So we'd like to use this small prop in the front to get that rear weight shift back, allow them to engage their core, and then they can drop their elbows down to get some stretch to their shoulders. The thing about bow is the dog's ability to do all three things and how that's going to look is going to drastically vary based on their structure. It is really hard to do. He is considered a long back dog, so this is harder to get like a nice straight spine with him if we drop the elbows too far. Um, so it isn't always important to have that perfectly straight spine. What's really important is you're looking at the dog and you're seeing what muscles are engaging. See, weight shift. I had pulled him a little bit forward. I wanted to get some flexion in the shoulders first before I did some extension work. So you can really play around with the position here and really target different areas in the different muscle groups. Again, based on your dog structure, this will change how much and what muscles you engage. So it's really cool to kind of play around with it and use your mirrors and use your props and see what you could get and what muscles you're engaging by where you're putting your rewards, by what motions you're doing first. We're shifting weight back first, then we're coming down, and then we're getting some elbow dips here. So we're getting some extension through the triceps there. So this is all the fun that you can have with this exercise. I pull him up a little bit more to get a little bit more core engagement. There's all sorts of things you can do. Things you don't want to do, like this is over. So now he's dipping too far. We are getting some really good stretch here through the elbows, but that's probably a little bit too much stretch for the start. He doesn't need that much stretch. That's overextending him. You can see he doesn't look comfortable. So I don't want to go that far. There's no reason to. So again, your reward placement really matters. And these are the things I look for when I'm training my dog. These are the things I look for when I'm working with other people training their dogs. I want to make sure that the exercise we're doing is actually engaging the muscles we want them to engage. So if we're doing bow to work the rear, the core, and the shoulder, then I want to make sure that I'm rewarding and pushing my dog into a position that does all three things so that I'm getting the most bang for my buck in my exercise sessions. If I go too short, like this, I might not be getting that nice shoulder extension. So I pull him too far forward. I'm not getting the weight shifting in the rear. Um, these are really critical things to think about, and why we really encourage you guys to, when you're doing fitness, to film yourself, to use your mirrors. In this case, I'm not using a mirror, I'm using my own video screen to see what I'm doing with my dog and make sure that what I'm doing with my treat placement is actually helping the dog perform the exercise and not making things worse. So hopefully this was a little bit of a nice insight for you guys on how bow can be used, on how you can get different things out of bow, and hope you guys can think a little bit more about how to apply this to your own dog with your dog structure and what this might look like with your dog.